Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you all for coming for an important bill signing today, the Senior Citizens Real Property Tax Relief Act of 2014. And I'm delighted to have been able to work with the council to offer our senior citizens an opportunity to stay in their homes and benefit from the administration's efforts, the council's efforts to provide affordable housing to long-term residents. This legislation, and you'll hear from Councilmember Bonds and Councilmember Evans, but this legislation exempts low and middle-income senior homeowners from real property taxes if they are at least 70 years old and have owned a residence in the District of Columbia for at least 20 consecutive years. I want to thank, again, Councilmember Anita Bonds for drafting this important legislation, and legislation is designed to protect and preserve the affordability of homes for our long-time senior residents. When I first became mayor, I made a commitment to ensuring that our senior residents remain an integral part of the economic development and growth of our city. The budgets that I've introduced and the policies. Are the lights going on and off? Oh, okay. I thought maybe it was my imagination. The budgets that I've introduced and the policies my administration carries out every day demonstrate, I think, my priority to ensuring that our seniors have options to help them age in place. In fact, just this past Saturday, I was involved with leading a block-by-block walk through Ward 7. I did part of it, and then I had to leave to go back to a youth town hall meeting that we were conducting at the Friendship Collegiate Academy. That's a part of our age-friendly DC initiative, which seeks to make the district a better place to live, to work, and visit for people who are 60 years of age and older. During the walk, we had participants who conducted a survey to identify areas where we needed to improve opportunities for people to be able to get about the city without obstacles that would make it more difficult. We are a city where seniors can stay in their neighborhoods and stay in their homes that they love, and at the same time attract new residents as well to an increasingly vibrant city. I think this legislation fits nicely with my own priorities, and very much appreciate Councilmember Bonds' drive to be able to get us to where we are with this effort today. You know, a lot of times we think about affordability as being what is the cost of a particular residence, the rental cost or the cost of purchasing. But there are lots of ways to come at affordability, and this is one of those, and that is if you own a home, is there a way to reduce the cost of maintaining that home? And one of those ways is to reduce the property taxes, and that's exactly what this legislation does. It reduces the property taxes. So, I mentioned during the State of the District 2 weeks ago that I'm going to propose in this budget that we invest an additional $100 million in affordable housing. And one of those elements of that investment will be funding this bill, which will cost us around $8 million a year. The majority of the funds will be invested in the Housing Production Trust Fund, which will produce more housing. But again, I think it's important, this is an important illustration of how an investment like this can lower the taxes for folks who otherwise might find it impossible to be able to stay in the city and might have to move to Ward 9 or Ward 10 or Ward 11, somewhere outside the District of Columbia. Our Office of Aging Services, and I see Dr. Thompson is here today, and our Office of Neighborhood Engagement will be able to assist residents with the process that we are about to embark on. Once we get through this budget process, obviously this will be something that will take effect in fiscal year 15, beginning October 1st. So I certainly hope the council will approve this, and if so, we'll be ready to go come October 1st. Again, the idea is to create as much affordability as we possibly can in the District of Columbia, and this is yet another way to do that. So before we actually launch into the signing of the bill, I'm going to ask Councilmember Anita Bonds if she would come up and say a few words, and then have the chairman of our Committee on Finance and Revenue, Councilmember Jack Evans, if he would come up and say a few words thereafter. Councilmember Bonds.
My warm and special thanks to Mayor Gray. He's wonderful, right? He's super to let us in this city remember our seniors. And I say to let us because when all is said and done, the buck does stop at his desk. The buck always stops at the desk of the head of your government. And so in that regards, we give you great accolades for understanding the needs of the community and helping us to make this a reality. I'm very joyous today for several reasons, but primarily because when I heard from citizens, especially our senior citizens, about 8-9 months ago, you were talking a lot about how, well, we can barely afford to live in this city. You know, everything is going up in cost, and so what can you do to help us? Don't come and just visit with us and have fun. Tell us how you can help us. We don't want to lose our homes. We're a little concerned about how we're going to put food on the table. What can you do to really help us? And so I listened intensely and thought that if we could spare you the cost of property taxes, that might help, and particularly if you had been a resident and a homeowner living in your home for more than 20 years, that it made sense to see if we could drop that tax for you. And so today is what we're celebrating. We've dropped that tax for you, and I think it's a good thing. It is about affordability. It is about you having the opportunity to stay in a community that you love, a community that you know most about, and when all is said and done, I think the District of Columbia embraces the diversity of income as well as people from all walks of life. And I mean, my goodness, where else will young, new residents find out about the glorious days of the District of Columbia except through you? And I say that because I was talking to a gentleman the other day, and I think he said he was 97, and he was talking about the wars and what had gone on. I didn't know anything about that, and I'm not one of those young, new, bright stars. My point is we can always learn from each other. And our seniors are a wealth of information, very important to the economy of the District of Columbia, believe it or not, because we're the ones that are making sure that we usually spend our dollars in the District of Columbia. We're not moving around in the region. We have places where we buy our groceries. We have places where we frequent for coffee and things like that. So I think this is a good thing because I am expecting that those dollars that you are going to save, you're going to put them back into the local economy. And that's what this is about. All of us sharing and recycling our money. And one day, maybe we will have the benefit of some sort of clever way of commuter tax. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. But anyway, and that's because we want Congress to embrace this as well, because, at some point I heard that one of the congressmen he had applied for and was getting homestead exemption. Okay, so there you go, Mr. Mayor. These things really happen in the District of Columbia. Well, there.
Did that make the paper?
Of course not, but you know, it was known on Capitol Hill, the neighborhood in which he lived. But today I also would like to recognize a few very special guests, and we probably know them because they're always stunningly attired. And that would be Dr. Doris Thomas, Mrs. Senior, 1992. Would you stand and receive a round of applause? Okay, there she goes. She's up. Fantastic. And of course, our current Mrs. Senior, Nancy Berry. Thank you. And I hope, Iris, I get your name correct, but Iris Molosky. And Iris is very special. Stand, Iris. She is the DuPont Circle Village President, and you'll hear more about villages as days go by. You're probably already involved in one of the villages. If not, you know, it's really a very good thing where you share resources in your neighborhood. And they're headquartered at the Women's National Democratic Club. So those are our special guests, and we have a few others, but I'm going to let Jack speak because one thing I've learned before I got here, I was a silent person, very analytical, taking it all in and trying to figure out what strategy would work to make things work. Well, somehow I've been a little transposed since I've been at the council. And Susan Meehan will tell you, I talk so much now. I don't mean to talk so much, but there is so much to be said about the richness of the District of Columbia. So forgive me, but my colleague, my very capable colleague is here. And I'd like to have Jack say something because he made sure that this bill got through. And that's because he loves seniors as well. Jack Evans.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you very much. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you all for being out here today. Very important bill signing. I also want to begin by thanking our mayor, Mayor Gray, who has been a great supporter of this. He's going to sign the bill, fund the bill. He's done it all. So let's give the mayor a big round of applause. Mr. Mayor, thank you. Mayor and I have been working together now 25 years. When I first got on the council, April '91, he was the head of Human Services. We did a lot of great work back then in finding places for people who are homeless, people who are living in these decrepit hotels and horrible trailers. And through his leadership, we really found places for people who were really in need and have followed all the way through to today. And so, Mr. Mayor, thank you for all of that. And when he was chairman, I was vice chairman of the council. I don't think we ever lost a vote. So it's a great record. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Anita Bonds, who I've known from when I first came to the District of Columbia, when I first got involved in this stuff back, it was the early 1980s with John Wilson. And John helped me get appointed to some board or commission back then, and it was with Anita Bonds, was very involved in the Barry administration. So I went into her office quivering. I thought, oh God, what do I do here? And so, but Anita's always been very helpful, head of the state committee, and has done a great job as in that capacity. And we've worked together there, and now as a council member. And I have to say, she was tenacious on this bill. She introduced this bill. She came to me every other day and said, when are you going to have a hearing? When are you going to have a hearing? When are you going to move the bill? And so she really did a good job of advocating for the bill. It's a great bill, as both the mayor and Anita have said. It's a tremendous help to our seniors. And you have to keep in mind what's happening in our city. I have a resident in my ward whose mother bought a house for $9,000. Must have been like 40 years ago. It's today worth $1 million, okay? And she's lived there the whole time. And at $9,000, the property taxes are next to nothing. At $1 million, if we didn't have caps and senior exemptions in place, 85 cents per $100 of assessed value would be $8,500 in property taxes. And she couldn't afford it. Her income doesn't even come close to that. And so even with the senior exemption, cuts it in half, you're still $4,000. Under Anita's bill, zero. And see, that's, yeah. And that's what we're trying to do, because we've always lived by the motto that, people were, and, we were all here during the tough times. people who are here in this city in the tough times get to stay in the good times. And that is the goal of this government, is to make sure that all of us who are here during the tough times get to stay here. And one of the approaches is affordability, making sure that seniors can afford to stay here, making sure that people who are on limited income have affordable housing. We're going to, the mayor and I have been working on tax relief, the middle income tax bracket, the standard deduction, personal exemption, all ways to make sure that people who are struggling in our city have more money in their pockets. And this is a great, great bill that's going to achieve that. So I applaud everyone who was involved in this. I was happy to move this through our committee, and we got I think we got a unanimous or almost unanimous vote on the council on this. And to Anita Bonds, again, this is your first real big piece of legislation. And when people say, what has Anita done in her short time period here? A lot. All right, thank you, Anita, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, I'm going to ask Council Members Evans and Bonds if they would stay up here, and then there's some folks who want to join us. The folks that Councilmember Bonds mentioned, ask them to come up. And then Jackie Arguelles, come on up. Lewis Davis, Romaine Thomas, Mary Ann Miller, Dr. John Thompson, Susan Meehan, Elite Ventura. What a great name. Wow. And Connie Woody, come on up.
Thank you. Uh-oh.
That's right. Jack?
All right, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much.
All right. I'll let you decide the order of the next ones. Who gets the next one?
All right, Dita, who gets the next?
Here's Mr. Wood.
Okay.
Jackie Smothers.
Please go ahead. Who gets the next one? Okay.
Ms. Thomas. Romaine.
There you go.
Can't forget the powerful White Seven.
Here we go. Susan?
Susan. Here.
Who's next? We didn't get everybody to do it. This is my last pen.
Mr. Thompson. We
Okay.
can't forget Mr. Thompson. I mean, my goodness, you have to be the custodian of all of what we think we're about.
Where are you, Dr. Thompson?
Right here, sir.
Okay.
All right.
I think we're out of pens.
Everybody gather in here. Come on, move in. We all get a picture.
And I can tell you that Councilmember Evans knows how to do this. When we were at the Democratic Convention, I have never seen such leaping over seats as then. And I guess Ms. Thomas was one of those as well, so it was quite interesting.
It's like this.
All right. Here we go. It's now officially approved.